All right, 7th through 8th grade. Our sniglet today is hoodlegig. Hoodlegig. When the end of the plug becomes bent just enough that it no longer easily connects to the outlet. I've had this issue with many things. When those prongs or whatever they're called, you try to stick it back in a plug then and it just won't work. For some reason, it tends to happen with my vacuums. Hoodlegig. This plug has a hoodlegig. Next is our Shakespeare quote. This is the phrase, naked truth from love's labors lost. The idea behind this phrase, which is used often, in fact, not only do we use it, well, naked truth means the truth and nothing else added to it. The idea of being not embellishing, not dressing it up, not disguising truth. It is truth and nothing but the truth. But we also have, I don't know that describing something as naked before this was associated with the abstract. I think it, normally you think of it as literal. And so it's very vivid. The idea is that truth by itself is pure and essential. We've come to use that term to describe other things by themselves. So naked has come to mean an adjective that just means as it is by itself. And so that is a really commonly used one, and it comes from Shakespeare. Our proverb of today is Proverbs 6:16 through 19. It says, "These 6 things the Lord hates. Yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren." I think it's interesting that 2 of the mentions are about a lying tongue. So God hates 7 things, and he lists lying. A false witness isn't, false witness is especially wrong because it's the idea of somebody standing and testifying before a court and intentionally getting someone into trouble with their lies. So it's not just lying to, a lot of times people will lie to escape trouble themselves, but this one's especially devious because it's trying to get someone else in trouble. But both of them have to do with a lying tongue, your words. I think it's really interesting that both our Shakespeare quotation and this verse have to do with our topic today. Now, I initially wasn't that, didn't have that much skill in planning, but one of the things we're going to talk today about is news articles and how to write a news article. Now, I happen to have included this lesson for 3rd through 4th, or coordinated this lesson so that 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade are all doing this same assignment. However, this is like a skill, so you get better the more you do it. So even if you've done it for me before or for another teacher, this will be your chance to fine-tune that skill. And one of the things I want to hone in on is something that I normally don't talk about with my younger students. So what I want to first say is I'm going to breeze through your assignment and the instructions. If you need more explanation, you can jump back to the 5th and 6th grade video and watch a very detailed explanation of how to write a news article. However, the thing I want to focus on is the idea of bias in reporting news and events and the importance of doing it correctly. Okay. And that's why I thought it was neat that we talk about truth being the essential. When we talk about writing news articles, the facts are the most important focus. And that's very similar to dealing with truth as it is. And then a lot of times in reporting news, especially in politics, if you've been able to keep up with that, I don't know if that's something you've been following now that you are getting older, the bias, it really makes the integrity of the writing, it just tears it. It's hard to trust, is just eating away at our media, which is a term used to describe the people who report to us the news, whether it's articles or watching television, because before something is broadcast, it is written down and agreed upon. So there's still writing involved, even if it's something you watch. And so this is just another form of deception, of lying. And it's especially awful when you're trying to get someone else in trouble. So let's move on to our assignment without further ado, which is Shakespeare, by the way. All right. So I'm going to breeze through this part. Again, if you want a more detailed explanation or a review, just go to the 5th and 6th grade video, jump to the section where I talk about the news article. All right, so the way you write a news article, you choose your event or your topic. Typically in the writing world, there's some general areas. One would be economy. That word means anything that has to do with the finances, trade, buying and selling things, importing goods, exporting goods, how powerful our dollar is. That all has to do with the economy, real estate, anything like that. Basically, you got to think about money and day-to-day living. And then another big category for news articles would be politics, like I just mentioned. Another one would be sports, which may interest some of you, it may not others. Some would be environmental issues, that weather would fall under that. Anything to do with, a lot of times, science, discoveries. There are, let's see, what are some other big topics? There is the current events. Some of that would be cultural, like a new song being released, a new artist rises to fame. There are a few other categories. I'm just kind of giving you a general idea. Oh, energy. Energy is a big one. Coal, oil, solar power. And probably public health is another big topic. So just some ideas of things that people write on for news. So what you want to do is you want to pick your specific event, topic, etc. And you want to gather the facts. You want to come up with a catchy and informative headline. I'm very specific in the 5th and 6th grade video on how to do that. Then you give a summary of events and you include interview quotations or statistics when it's appropriate. Some reminders here. Always use third person, except in quotations, of course. Avoid opinion or speculation and bias, which we're going to sit on this one today. Keep it formal, but not, in other words, not informal, not casual. And always start with the lead. Don't bury the lead. This is another one that we will maybe touch on. We'll see how we're doing with time. All right, so let's look at a review of some writing rules. This is a review of what we're covering in 5th and 6th grade, where we are to this point in the semester. These are those rules that I ask you to do. Actually, I'm looking at this and I realize I added one more to this list, but didn't add it here. Use third person pronouns. Again, if you've taken my classes before, you've heard these. 5th and 6th grade, we're creating a list of writing rules to help us have strong writing style and formal academic writing. These rules would not apply to other categories of writing like creative writing or specific categories like resumes or thank you notes or some of the other assignments we would do. This is specific academic formal writing, and this homework assignment falls into this category. So I shared a list of these writing rules here, and we'll read them quickly. Avoid passive voice verbs. Avoid standalone be verbs. Avoid there is, there are sentence structures, which also happen to be standalone be verb sentences. Avoid redundancy. The exception is the news article. The headline and the first couple lines contain all the information. That's what we call the lead. And then the summary fleshes that out. It tells the story, tells the event. Avoid idioms in your writing. Avoid casual tone, words including like contractions, generic words like kinda, really, very, big. Maybe it's better to call them vague words rather than generics. I wasn't sure how to categorize them. Avoid slang. Those are words like cap, salty, sus. Aren't you proud of me? I looked those up just for you guys. And then, oh man, and look at me. I'm finding some errors. Are you guys watching? If you find these before I do, you get a point. But if you hadn't found them yet, you don't get credit for this. So I have a missing closed parentheses, and I have a hanging one there. I'm just going to put a comma. All right. And so we have slang, and then we have jargon. So those are words that make your writing more casual. Again, if you want more explanation, you can look at the 5th and 6th grade video. Okay, what I want to sit on for a little while is this idea of bias or opinion or speculation. So the word bias actually is, in its technical term, means a line that leans. So this would be a vertical, this would be horizontal, this would be called an oblique line or a bias. Okay, it's done diagonally. So a bias in writing means that the author, instead of being neutral and in the middle, they lean to one side or the other. As a reporter, as an article writer, you are supposed to give the facts, the naked truth, the truth and nothing but the truth. You are not supposed to lean one way or the other. Now, it would be different if you're writing for an opinion column or you're writing from an organization that is known to be in this category or this category. But where it gets very dangerous today is where the news, it's very rare, in fact, to find news that is presented without bias. Okay, so I wanted to find the best way to talk to you about bias in writing. And if you do a Google search for bias in writing, it's not going to give you a satisfactory answer. You can do it if you want to do it with your parents. I would not do it without having a discussion with them. There are some things that I would agree with. For instance, the third person, writing in third person, avoiding your own opinions or speculation, the things I've already shared with you. However, it has changed very dramatically in the last 5 years based on the current culture. So I don't recommend actually reading about bias in writing. What I really want you to be aware of are logical fallacies. These are pitfalls that writers and readers can use these tactics to persuade their audience. Readers can fall into these traps. So it's good to be aware of logical fallacies. I love talking about these. However, for sake of time, I'm going to refer you to a website. You can go to many websites if you search logical fallacy. So you see on the right, I pulled up, I just searched logical fallacies. There are books on this. You might study this in English. You would also possibly study it in logic, which is considered a math subject. And so I tried to copy and paste the address onto the left, but for some reason, it's just not allowing me to do that. So I'm just going to let you know where it is, owl.purdue.edu. And I'm going to kind of let you loose on this. That's part of your homework, is to read up on logical fallacies. One of my favorite assignments in the past, I'm not going to assign it to you guys, but has been to include fallacies, several fallacies, and you have to figure out which kind it is. But for instance, there's one called slippery slope. Typically, they're illegitimate arguments or irrelevant points that are often identified because they lack evidence that supports their claim. So a slippery slope is a conclusion based on the premise that if A happens, then eventually, through a series of small steps, through B, C, etc., X, Y, Z will inevitably happen too. Basically equating A to Z. So if we don't want Z to occur, A must not be allowed to occur either. So here's an example. If we ban Hummers because they are bad for the environment, eventually the government will ban all cars, so we should not ban Hummers. In this example, the author is equating banning Hummers with banning all cars, which is not the same thing. That is true. Hasty generalization. Of course, you can read this yourself, but here's the example. Even though it's only the first day, I can tell this is going to be a boring course. So that's a generalization that's been made before any evidence. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. That's a fancy Latin phrase. It means that this is a conclusion that assumes that if A occurred after B, then B must have caused A. Another way of saying post hoc ergo propter hoc is causation. Causation or correlation. I drank bottled water and now I am sick, so the water must have made me sick. I've heard this very argument. Just because something happened after something doesn't mean it was caused by it. So there's lots of these. Begging the claim, also sometimes called begging the question. Circular argument, also called circular reasoning. Either or, also called what is that one called? False dichotomy is another name for either or. It means saying there's only two choices when often there's more. Ad hominem is attacking the man. The ad populum or bandwagon appeal is basically saying you need to do it because everybody is. Red herring is a distraction. It comes from a hunting with dogs. Oftentimes, if a dog was chasing an animal and a competitor wanted to throw his competitor's dog off, he would drag a red herring, which is a kind of fish, across the path that the dog was sniffing. And the dog would get distracted from sniffing after the rabbit's trail and start following the trail of the red herring. So it's a diversionary tactic. It's not the real issue, but it got them off topic. It's like when you intentionally try to get a teacher or someone on a rabbit trail. And again, rabbit trail, red herring, it's all part of the same analogy. Straw man is the idea of setting up like a scarecrow, something that's not real, and attacking, a prop, essentially. Moral equivalence compares minor misdeeds and major atrocities, suggesting that both are equally immoral. That's a dangerous one, and it's one that just recently happened in the news. This says that parking attendant who gave me a ticket is as bad as Hitler. In the news right now, some politicians are comparing other politicians to Hitler. That's dangerous. It's called moral equivalence. So take a look at these. This makes you a better writer. Stay away from logical fallacies which come when the author is trying to make a point and their logic is faulty. So be really careful with this kind of writing. I think it's a fun thing to read about. What's really fun too is to read articles and to identify these arguments. These are the same logical fallacy terms that are used in debate. So when you have, if you are involved in debate as an extracurricular, or if you watch debates, political debates are hard to watch because they are quite awful at following general debate. Protocol. But anyway, I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoy this assignment. Speaking of, let me tell you the assignment. So you just need to, first of all, an announcement. We only have 5 weeks left of this semester, this week and 4 more videos. So coming up, we're going to have a Christmas summary, but as a creative optional conclusion to the semester, one of the ideas, and you might want to include your parents on this, of course, they might want you to do this, is to save all of these next 5 assignments and incorporate them into a Christmas newsletter style letter to friends and family. We have done this for at least a year with my kids and my nieces. And so our assignments are always with that in mind. So our specific audience is our family. So I tell you that because the assignment is to choose a real event that happened to you or your family in this past year and to write about it news style. So what we do when we do our newsletters is that we assign different columns, different categories to different kids. Some people write on new family members. So they're going to write an article if somebody's born, if somebody's married, and that kind of, those kinds of articles. So they'll talk about the wedding or the birth and all the statistics about the baby. Another cousin might have some articles on pets, and so the new pet in this family that was adopted, and this pet is, going to obedience school. But again, it's a single event. So one article would be written for that one new baby, and another article would be written for that one pet that went to obedience school. And another article might be written for the family member that bought a new house, and another one for the family member that got a promotion. So each article is just zooming in on that one event, that one category. So follow the instructions from earlier. You might want to even rewind the video and pause it. And then write your article. If you need help getting started, you could read a few news articles with your parents to get used to the form. There is a certain kind of way to write these articles. Just like any other assignment we do, it's really all about following the form, following instructions. So parents, as you're grading, you grade according to how well your student followed these requirements right here and these tips. So any of these that they stray from, you count off a point. And then, of course, mark up anything that they would be responsible for that they should know how to do and how to include. All right. I hope you guys have a great week.